We ready to kick it off? You know, Ecky's ADD is going to kick in here any minute if we don't get this party started. But I will be brief and just certainly want to welcome everyone here tonight. You know, on behalf of the Carolinas Golf Association, you know, I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for your presence here tonight and your support. It means the world to the Carolinas Golf Association, but it also means the world to the Law family. So just thank you for being here, and we're so appreciative. Thank you. I know everybody's got an Ecky story, but I'm going to tell you about the first time I saw Zan Law. I was 15 years old at Myers Park Country Club, putting on a putting green, and Zan was in the bunker there at 18. He had a long bunker shot. I didn't know who he was, but he was wearing this smoking Argyle sweater. It just looked like $1 million straight off the boat from Scotland, and he had his Ben Hogan cap on, and he had a long bunker shot, a shot I was very familiar with, and it always struggled with, and I didn't know who he was. And he hits this low shot. I said, "Oh, he's scolded. This guy's got no game." But then something strange happened. It was low, and it just right next to the hole, and I had never seen a shot like that before in my life. You don't see that shots in junior golf. And all Ecky did was kick the sand in and look over at me and just gave me a tip of the cap. So, Ecky, I would like to give you a tip of the cap today, laddie. Well played. So if we could bow our heads in prayer. Dear Lord, I just thank you for this day and this evening and this celebration. We thank you for the game of golf that has brought so many of us together here tonight. And we thank you for those wonderful relationships that have been forged through the game. But Lord, at this time, we must also pray for the loved ones of Tony Cunningham, a longtime member of the Quail family who passed away suddenly this week. May you comfort them and let them know they are not alone. But tonight, Lord, we thank you for Zan, one of your shining stars, and may his light shine on. And we pray for each and every person here tonight. And Lord, we also ask you for your blessings for our troops in this country and around the world who protect us to provide this very freedom for us to gather here tonight. We also ask that you bless this food and the hands that prepared it and let it lead to the nourishment of our bodies. In your name we pray. Amen.
Braxton McClellan, thank you. He pulled out his back and he's worked hard. Let's thank Braxton, everyone. And the Walton girls, thank you so much for all the organization. Y'all always do a great job. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. And last on the thanks, you can't do it without all these, as I say, family at Quail Hollow that are helping you all tonight. Be sure and thank them, and let's all give them a great round of applause. Everybody here is so special, and they're special because we all love a great guy. And we're not going to call out many names, but I have to say, you don't have many nice dinner events where you have people that come from California, like Ashby McElveen, and from New York, like Peter Javalt, and Raleigh Shoemaker from Boston, and all of us from Charlotte, and of course we got some others we're going to introduce in a minute from other towns, but thank you all. It means so much to everybody here tonight. Lastly, I want to introduce our first speaker who's going to talk about our friend Zan, who came from Dallas, Texas, the legendary Tom Cruikshank.
Good evening. Legendary, you know. I'm much too young to be this old. One good thing about it, though, it returned my platinum blonde hair that I had when I was a kid. But it's a real pleasure to be here tonight, and I can't think of a more fitting event for what I know is, who I know is the world's greatest amateur golf addict, He and I go back for, I guess, 40 years, give or take. So we met first as opponents in a Pine Valley member guest. Believe it or not, it was a golf course I ran into Zan. And one of the good things over these 40 years for both my wife and me, sorry she couldn't be here this evening, but being friends of Zan's and Gay's, we came to Charlotte quite often, and I got to meet a lot of great people here and become friends with a number, and it's a real pleasure to return. I must confess that some of you, I'll have trouble remembering what your real name is because the nicknames are all I've heard for years. And in fact, Zan tagged me with Crooked. And that was back when I was still in business and working, and when some of the people I was doing business with heard that come out, you know, that CD looks. But we've spent a lot of time together, and over the years, I must confess I've grown envious of some of the characteristics I've seen in Zan. One, I've been with him when he'll run in, this is probably at a golf club, of course, but when he'll run into somebody he maybe hasn't seen in 8 or 10 years, and maybe only once before that, and he'll recognize him, he'll know his name, he'll know when he met him, where he met him, what he did. And the other side of that coin, that's an amazing trait, the other side of that coin is that other person will know Zan. Because once you've met him, you never forget him. He's got that trait. And, you know, over the 40 years, I've played a lot of golf with him. And I've seen him hit some beautiful shots, a lot of them. I've seen him hit some horrible shots. A lot of them. But one thing I know is, and I noticed, that in spite of all those bad shots, I never, ever heard from his lips one single oath. And not many of us as golfers can say that. But I did hear some funny noises come from that direction sometimes, but never an oath. And I think probably the thing I envy most about him is the way he can enjoy every day and get the most pleasure out of him. I'm seeing him in a lot of different circumstances, and he always manages to get interested in something that's going on, and he really concentrates and enjoys it completely and learns a lot too. He'll come away as an expert in that field. He's been known to cite a few statistics that fortunately nobody ever checked. But one of those pleasures that he has is eating. The best meal he's ever had is the last one he just had. You know? There is a caveat on that. You know, he's a connoisseur of tomatoes. I mean, in fact, he even got where he was growing them in his backyard. But the tomatoes have to be of a quality, or the manager's liable to be called over and informed that I could get better tomatoes at the 7-Eleven down on the corner. And in fact, I understand there was a board meeting here at Quail Hollow once where a good part of the meeting was occupied with discussing the quality of tomatoes that we had. But I can say that this has been a wonderful experience over a long period of time. And Zan has been a wonderful friend and Gay, and we've spent lots of time with him. All of it's been enjoyable, and I look forward to spending a lot more with him. And as you know, Zan is a very devout Christian, and I can witness that he lives that life. It's part of him. And this turnout tonight is a great evidence of the people who have become close to him and who are his friends. And we're truly that Zan and Kay. And I've never heard of anybody complaining that a talk was too short. So I'm going to simply express again my pleasure at being here, and thank you for all the years that we've had, and many more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Crooked. Everybody sit back and enjoy a video.
If you look around Charlotte, it won't take you long to find Zan Law's fingerprints. Everywhere from the church he grew up in, to the street he grew up on, to the local hangouts where he loves to tell stories, there's no doubt that Zan Law is a fixture in Charlotte. But everyone who knows him knows his greatest impression has been left on Charlotte's many golf courses.
One of the things that struck me about Zan and golf was how much he cared about the history of golf in Charlotte. And almost immediately I started hearing stories about, golf in Charlotte in the, couple decades before I got here. And that was very interesting to me. And he's been kind of the common thread of that, I would think.
He always promoted golf. He was always the first to get behind any golf endeavor, no matter what it was. And so you got to say that he had a big influence on golf from his early years, because let's face it, we grew up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when golf really wasn't very well known.
But no matter how much Zan loves golf, it's always been outshined by his love of people. Early on, Zan recognized the ability to use golf to make connections and enrich the lives of others.
Zan is a connector. One of his top strengths is his positive attitude, his ability to connect people.
Overall, you get a sense the minute you meet him that he really wants to get to know you. He's one of these people that immediately starts asking you about yourself and your situation, as opposed to telling you about himself.
Zan and Gay really have changed my life and that of my family. I'll never forget the time we went out to lunch several years ago in the mid-90s, and I'd just been married to Susan, and we were struggling with infertility. And Zan was saying, he didn't know that, and Zan was saying, well, hey, when are you and Susan going to have kids? And I said, Zan, I'm trying pretty hard, partner, right now to have kids. And he said, tell me about it. So we went through this lunch conversation. At the end of lunch, he said, listen, only how Zan can do. He said, listen, partner, let me tell you something, Dibby. You're playing on the Nike Tour. Gay and I went through the same infertility, and you need to be on the PGA Tour. And he picked up the phone and he called Howard Jones, who was the doctor who was the founder of the Jones Institute in Norfolk. And the next week, Susan and I were in Norfolk, meeting with Dr. Jones. And 3 years later, we had 2 beautiful daughters.
Everyone that's met Zan or played a round of golf with him can be sure of 2 things. First, they're going to be given a nickname. And second, they're going to leave with a great story to share with everyone.
I can remember a rainy day at Myers Park. We're sitting there, it's so rainy that we can't play. And Zan looks at me. He gave me a nickname then. He says, called me Snake, because I used to make long putts. By the way, 83.5% of all people in the world have nicknames given to them by Zan. And y'all can sit there and think about what your nickname is and when he gave it to you.
When he was selling at TK, he got the idea that he wanted to use the Burt Bacharach song, Do You Know the Way to San Jose? And he wanted to adopt the lyrics to say, Do You Know the Way to TK? And he got so passionate about that, he figured out who Burt Bacharach's agent was and persistently called him and finally talked to the guy and told him the idea. And the guy just said something like, Burt don't sell his songs to anybody, click. But the funny part about it is I heard him, he would sing the song. Do you know the way to TK?
We're going to the Heritage and we're behind Arnold and Winnie Palmer going in line through the gate, and there's a Pinkerton kid there, and he looks at Arnold Palmer and he said, I need to see your passes. Zan's jaw drops. I look at him, he didn't believe there was anybody on the planet that didn't know Arnold Palmer. Anyway, they finally find him. He lets them through. Zan looks at the kid, the security guard kid, and he said, do you realize who that was? And the kid says, I don't care if it was Lord God Almighty, I got my orders. Zan looked at him, he says, well, it wasn't, son. He says, but it's as close as you're going to get to him today.
Despite Zan's rich history with golf, tournaments played, and trophies won, Zan's legacy will be that of a person that has always left others feeling better than when he met them. For him, golf has always been more about just playing the game. It's about finding commonality with people, hearing their story, and finding the opportunity to lift them up and make their lives better along the way.
He's been a mentor to me in a number of different areas of my life, work issues and my family, the game of golf and how to conduct yourself on the golf course.
Zan has, I'm sure, affected everybody that he's run into with his positive attitude. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. I'm not sure he's had many negative thoughts. And most negative thoughts he has, he turns into a positive thought.
A couple days before I was getting married, I got a note from Zan, and I just opened it up, and it said, Lou, he always calls me Lou. He said, Lou, she is different than you, X. And when I first opened it, I went, well, boy, that's a strange piece of advice. And as it turns out, it's really one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten.
The game of golf has been a conduit for him to have personal fulfillment and engagement in his life. And I think Zan's authentic self, his human spirit to love one another with these incredible Christian principles is what makes the game of golf inspiring. When I look at Zan and I look at the game of golf, I look at how golf really sits inside this incredible sport of life. And when you go out on the golf course and you're talking to people, you never know who can change your life. And Zan Law changed my life and changed the life of my family, and I'll be always grateful for that.
More to come. If you haven't met him, you've heard about him from Zan, our good friend Lex Alexander.
I wanted to recite a poem for the blessing, but Bracky had it all taken care of, so I was sat down. This morning I read a piece that I wrote for Zan's 65th birthday roast that Ricky Ryder was the MC of. And I read it this morning and didn't think it was appropriate for tonight. But you write these things. My grandmother used to write them. And they're terrible poems that'll tell any kind of lie to make a rhyme. So that was doggerel, really bad poetry, and wretched doggerel is doubly bad. But it takes forever to write these things, and I wrote the one for Zan. It was 6, 8, 10 pages long, and after each little stanza it had the chorus, and I read it so many times I memorized it. So it goes like this. He approaches the tee, selecting his swing. It could be Carl Ferrilla, Mountain Springs, or that new lawnmower thing. As he searches the sky for the ball he has struck, he's already picking his next move, hoping for better luck. So I wasn't even on the program, so I'm going to get down. But Zan, I didn't have an older brother, but Zan sort of subbed in, and I couldn't have had a better one. And a beauty to you, Uncle.
Thank you, Lex. I was riding down I-85, which is a real pleasure these days if you hadn't been on it, and the phone rang, and I said, Frank. I said, yeah, he says, Roger Perry. I said, I knew he's going to ask about the 3 boys, and he's going to want money. I'm kidding, Roger, but so we started talking about Zan Law, and he was calling to say that he and Charlie Price, we've been thinking about Zan, and we really need to have a dinner to honor Zan. And we want you to help us. What can we do? And Braxton McLennan happened to be in the car with me, and I said, well, I know what we can do. We can honor him and the love of golf, and that's why we're all here tonight. Ed McMahon joined us, and it's been fun, and we've had a great night. So I'd like to introduce another wonderful person, fine North Carolinian, Roger Perry.
Well, thank you for the chance to be here. I have the pleasure of introducing X and Gay, which I'll do in a minute. But I haven't known X as long as many of you have. I've only known him for 44 years. And I think that the thing that has made him a light in my life over those 44 years are a couple of 3 things that I want to talk about tonight. One is an incredible spirit of positiveness, which he taught me at a very young age. And I'm often reminded by the old bromide of, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? And the answer to that question is, it depends on whether you're pouring or drinking. And although life has given X, is like all of us, a bunch of lemons, he's been making lemonade all his life to keep that half-full glass, at least that half full and hopefully full. And his positive mental approach to life has been an inspiration to me that has meant so much in everything I've done. I think the other thing he's taught me is that and the reason so many of us are so close to him, love him so much, and are his friend, is because I've never known anyone who was as non-judgmental about other people as X is. I can't say that about groups, especially Democrats and other particular groups. But in 44 years, I am yet to hear Zan talk in a negative way or say anything bad about another human being. And I can't make that claim. I wonder how many in here can. So that has meant a lot to me. The other thing is I've never known anyone who is as genuinely what you see is what you get. I've never met anyone who walks the walk that he talks as much as Zan. He is truly a genuine and unique person who can always be counted on to be what he is with no pretense and with nothing else. This is a good man. This is a great man, and he is a great friend of mine. X, Gay, the podium is yours.
I just have one quick story to tell. This happened several years ago, and Zan was having some sort of medical procedure, and I had to wait on him. So he's back with the nurses, and all of a sudden a nurse comes out and says, "Are you Mrs. Law?" And I said, "Yes." "Well, come with me." And I said, "Okay. Is everything okay?" "Well, he wants his glasses, and he's trying to tell us how to run this hospital. And, we're trying to tend to him and take care of him, but he wants you back here." And I said, "Oh, bless your heart. I'm so sorry." She said, "No, honey, bless your heart."
She made that up. First of all, Frank and Braxy and the people from Pinehurst, thank you so much for getting this together. I have a couple of things I want to say. We're here really because of golf and what it means to everybody. Golf has a twin brother. It's called the game of life. And you may or may not have gotten that parallel on a daily basis, but life has nothing that golf doesn't give. And it transcends age, race, nations, politics, almost anything. You meet a guy or girl on the golf course, and you can get 10 years of insight into them in one round of golf. And that's really all you need to know about that person. Mostly, they're just nothing like it. And I got to tell you, this is a testimonial to what that game can do and bring us together. Secondly, well, I came up with this little thing. Golf, like life, is a puzzle to be worked on, but never solved. Second thing is, there's a old African American guy I met back in the late 70s. I spent all day with him and a friend of mine named Charles Coffin from Hilton Head, looking at some real estate, which Mr. Cruikshank ended up owning. It was a rainy February day, and we'd name was Jake Washington. He's about 80 years old. His pickup truck was about 78 years old. And but the Fusky didn't really have roads in it, just had sand, you know, things. So anyway, we get out there, and we're getting ready to leave, get on a John boat and go back to Hilton Head. And he says, Mr. X? I said, yes, sir, Jake. What is it? He said, I got something I want to take with you. I said, okay, great. What is that? He said, little Fusky wisdom. I said, okay, what is that, Jake? He said, every shut-eye ain't sleep, every grin tooth ain't laughing, and every goodbye ain't gone. And I think that is something you can take with you. When you're driving down the road by yourself, you repeat that to yourself and think how true that is. Let me think. I got one more. Oh no, I got two more. I got two more. The first one is the greatest golf story that I personally have heard from one of the principals in the story. And secondly, is the greatest golf shot that I've ever seen by someone I was playing with. Now think about those two things for yourself. You'll come up with some interesting answers. So the first one is, there were George McElveen. Ashley, where are you? Welcome, Ashby. I'm sorry I hadn't seen you yet. George McElveen was our leader. J.W. Irv, Trotter, Baby. He'd assemble us to take us on these trips to Europe, to Scotland and Ireland. And he would always arrange these matches with the up-to-ups at the club, captain, secretary, all the president of the club, so on. And we were the honorable company. We played a match against them. You know, you do the 18 in the morning, you have the lunch, the 18 in the afternoon, go back and dress up again, you go over to Gray Walls, and we're hosting them for dinner. The legendary Patty Hamner, who was secretary there for about 40 years, and I don't know whether they ever wrote a book about him or not, but he was there. And I knew all about him. I'd heard stories about him all my life. And I looked over at the fireplace, and there he was, the little cherub, leaning on his cane, had his cup of Kimmel. And I think, Baby was with me. I said, come on, baby, let's go talk to Patty Hamner. Who's that, Spook? I said, so we go there and introduce ourselves. He's very nice. He didn't tell us to go downtown and come back in a week. So I said, I'd had a couple of glasses of Chardonnay. And I said, Mr. Hamner, I've heard a lot of the stories, and they're really good. I want your best story. And he went, my best story, huh? I said, yeah. He said, one day, about 9:30, said a lad knocks on the door. I said, come in, lad. He said, he comes in, and said, and what can I do for you? He said, I want to play Muirfield. I'm staying right here at Gray Walls next door. He said, doesn't it get you how they think they can stay at Gray Walls and play Muirfield? It's about 50 yards from the clubhouse, and you would think that. But anyway, he says, okay, what can I do for you? He said, my wife and I are on vacation, and I noticed there's nobody here on the golf course. I mean, it's a pretty nice day. Says, I'd like to play Muirfield. I'm a pretty good player. He says, do you have arrangements? I said, no, don't have any arrangements. Said, it's impossible, lad. Out with you. Said, the lad turns tail, he goes out, and I go back to work. And I notice him walking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Lunchtime comes, and I go to lunch. I come back about 1:30, and the lad is still out there. He's still pacing. About 2 o'clock, I'd knock on the door. I said, what is it? What is it? Again, he comes in and says, lad, I thought I told you can't play Muirfield. He said, oh, Mr. Secretary, I do not want to play Muirfield. Well, what in the world do you want, lad? He said, I want to take your picture. He said, my picture? And what in the world do you want to take me picture for? He said, because I want to show everybody in Idaho the asshole that wouldn't let me play Muirfield. And I said, laddie, get your sticks. You're on the tee. Now, I have only not because I was a good player, but by doing it so many times, ended up playing with some great players. The King himself in this tournament in the Quail seniors played with Billy Joe, Harvey Ward, some really good ones, David Strong, on and on. And I saw a lot of great shots. But what I'm getting ready to tell you is the greatest shot ever hit. Snake and I are playing two frayed All-Americans, as Billy Tubbs used to call them, in the Camden 4-ball back in about 68 or 9, playing David Dupree and Chip Prezioso, the South Carolina students, who hit it about as far as from here to the road out front past us every hole. I mean, this is like the Jets when Joe Namath. I mean, we got no chance. So we mutt and Jeff them for 18 holes, and somehow we're still alive. Now we got to go into a playoff. And a lot of you played Camden, the Donald Ross course. First, those little dogleg left, got a bunker out there. So the boys they're up. I think they were up all day, or well, anyway. They just fly. The bunker's nothing. They got wedged to the green. I drive the ball in the bunker, kind of up against the lip. Snake hits at 45 degrees right with a driver, and those pine trees are. So this ain't looking good. Snake chips it out 90 degrees. Now it's a little drizzle, and it's cold. It's March. And of course, they make you play the ball down. And on those little, it goes down between the little nubs. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do down there. So Snake hits it out. I chop it out both of us about 20 yards short of the green, pins back right. Prezioso hits it in there about 6 feet, and Dupree hits it about 15 feet. He lays 3, I lay 2. Let's see, I think I went first. I hit it about 15 feet. He takes his Sandy Andy wedge, opens it up, which is the only way you could have hit the shot. Takes about this much dirt out, and dirt flying everywhere, and the ball goes up there and starts trickling, goes in. Now, they got a 6-footer and a 15-footer to beat us. They miss it. We go to the second hole. I mean, these guys, they are war weary by this time. So we go to the second hole. We now got about 50 people following us. So one of them hits it on the green, pins back left. It's a great par 3, downhill, 170 yards. One of them hits it on the green about 30 feet. One hits 20 feet. Just routine for them. Thank God they couldn't putt. Anyway, so Ricky, no, I knock it in the right bunker. And Snake gets up there, and I know he's going to pull it out for me. He cold shanks a 5-iron. Right over there. It's about twice as far as from here to that corner. And we got 50 people helping us find it. So they start over there. Everybody goes there. We can't find the ball. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I said, I better go on down here. So I'm down there in the bunker getting ready to hit. David Kaiser screams, I got it. Well, I look back up there, and you can't see. You can't see Snake. He's 100 and probably 50, 60 yards from the green. The bunker's front left and front right. And he hits his shot. He hits his shot. No, I'd already hit. Now, this is 50 years ago. Bear with me. I hit this shot up at 15 feet. So all of a sudden, this ball comes down here. And I swear to you, the gap is not as wide as where Robert Crawford's standing right now. And it's got nubs and rough. It's all rough. It's bouncing like this, bouncing like this, bouncing like this. And it's starting to look pretty good. About as far as me to Crawford, I'm thinking, hey, he's going to have a putt at this thing. That ball just keeps on rolling, goes up there and lips the hole this far by. The single greatest shot I've ever seen. Prezioso, his putts first. They gave it to Snake. Prezioso putts first, hits it about 4 by. He says, I'll polish. He misses. So Dupree gets up there, and he rolls it about 3 by. He misses, we win. I mean, Rune Arledge would have come and watched it. I mean, if we'd have won that thing. So anyway, he did make it. We did beat him on the next hole. And that's it. I want to thank y'all for coming. I love y'all, and I appreciate it so much.
Says it all, doesn't it? Beautiful, beautiful. I would like to introduce, but before I do, the president of the Carolinas Golf Association is Lawrence Hicks from Greensboro, but we also have a former president of the CGA, and Arnold Edwards is here. So Arnold, thank you for being here, and thank you for all your hard work that you've done for the CGA. Lawrence Hicks, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Frank. What a wonderful night. What a remarkable night. Really, I'm privileged to be here. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say a few words at this very happy, festive occasion. My first order of business is to say thanks to all of you who helped make this evening possible with your generous financial support. I especially want to thank Braxton McLennan and Frank. And Frank asked me to point out again Ed McMahon, Roger Perry, and Charlie Price, who picked up the phone and called Frank, and who in turn called Jack Nance of the Carolinas Golf Association and made this evening possible. And again, I'm floored. This is a remarkable evening. Also, I left out Quail Hollow Club. Thank you, Quail Hollow Club. Ordinarily, being the CGA promoter that I am, I would take this opportunity to shine the spotlight on the Carolinas Golf Association. I might tell you about the 700 member clubs that we have in North and South Carolina. I might mention the 150,000 golfers in North and South Carolina who have handicap cards with us. Or I might tell you about the major championships that we conduct each year for men, women, and junior golfers. But as I've said, tonight is not an ordinary night. As far as I know, the Carolinas Golf Association has never been a part of an event like this in our history. Tonight, obviously, first and foremost, has been about Zan Law, Jr. Zan, I can think of no greater honor for a man than to have earned the love, admiration, and friendship of these 150 of your best buddies who are gathered here tonight. Let me be more specific. Zan, your collective friends here have amassed the single largest cash gift in the 107-year history of the Carolinas Golf Association, $250,000. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this fitting tribute to a true gentleman golfer. Zan, can I have you and Gene come up with Frank, please? I'm sorry, Gay. I believe we have something over there, don't we? This is a picture of Golf House, the headquarters of the Carolinas Golf Association, that's located in Pine Needles, and it was painted by Braxton McLennan's mother. In the left-hand corner, there's something that I'm going to get to in a minute, and you probably can't read it, but I want to say one more thing. Zan, on behalf of the Carolinas Golf Association, and to everyone in this room for that matter, I can assure you that we will be good stewards of these resources. And the end result will be a first-class memorabilia archive space, now and forever to be known as the Zan Law Jr. Hall of History at Golf House.
Everyone, thank you so much. This labor of love has been unbelievable. The Law family, we all love you, and we wish the best to everyone here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much.